State Agriculture Academy, University Management member present in this occasion, staff or lecturer, student, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning for Belarusian time. Good afternoon for Indonesian time. I would like to take this opportunity to warmly welcome you all to the UNTIDAR University to collaborative public lecture between UNTIDAR University and the Belarusian State Agriculture Academy. We are indeed very happy and pleased that you were able to spare some time in your busy schedule to attend this inaugural public lecture of Sustainable Agriculture. This public lecture is a follow-up to the Memorandum of Understanding and Cooperation Agreement between the two universities, which was signed a few months ago. A mutual agreement to understand each other, share, work together to explore important issues, especially in agriculture. For this reason, on behalf of UNTIDAR University, I would like to thank you for the very fast response from each party to immediately fill this collaboration with real activities in the form of public lecture, even though in the midst of still difficult conditions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sustainable agriculture is one of the important issues that is of concern to many countries and nations around the world. This issue is closely related to the availability of food, health, economy, and almost all aspects of our life. Most of the problems are rooted in industrialization and the application of technology, which was progressed very fast without being balanced with concern for the preservation of natural resources. The problems faced by each country are certainly very varied. Problem in Indonesia as an archipelagic country with a tropical climate and many volcanoes will be different with Belarus, a landmass with a subtropical climate. That is why the topic of this public lecture is very appropriate for us to attend. I hope that after this first public lecture, other academic activities will be followed, such as other public lectures with different topics, collaborative research, exchange of students and lectures, etc. Welcome to college. Hope it is useful for all of you. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Professor Dr. Mukharifin, for your remarks. For the next center, we would like to invite Professor Kalmukov Andrei Vasilyevich, first Vice Rector of the Belarusian State Agricultural Academy, to give his remarks. Professor Васильевич, the screen is yours.
Уважаемый господин посол Республики Индонезия, Федерации Республики Беларусь, Жозе Тавареш, господин ректор университета UNTIDAR Фин, уважаемый господин декан Сисван, преподаватели и студенты, позвольте мне приветствовать вас на первом совместном мероприятии, проводимом университетом UNTIDAR и Белорусской государственной сельскохозяйственной академии в рамках договора о сотрудничестве, подписанного между нашими заведениями в январе 2022 года. Первые лекции, которые будут прочитаны преподавателями университетов сегодня, создадут основу для дальнейшего разностороннего сотрудничества в области обучения студентов и проведения научных исследований. У наших университетов много общего. Мы готовим агропромышленного комплекса наших государств. Хозяйство всегда было и будет в приоритете. Только производство сельскохозяйственной продукции и продовольствия, а также продолжает пользоваться все нарастающим спросом во всем мире. Сельскохозяйственного производства требует пристального внимания и к таким глобальным проблемам, как климатические изменения, развитие процессов деградации почв, использование водных и земельных ресурсов, влияние на сельское хозяйство. Поэтому сегодня наши лекции будут посвящены этим проблемам и связаны с устойчивым развитием сельского хозяйства. Будучи наш университет будет способен к подготовке сторонних специалистов для аграрной сферы и таким образом решению проблемы устойчивого развития сельского хозяйства и обеспечения людей продовольствием. Желаю успехов участникам сегодняшней встречи, преподавателям и студентам и укрепления нашего сотрудничества. Благодарю за внимание.
I will translate. So the words of the Vice Rector, His Excellency, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, and Belarus, José Tavares. Dear Professor Mukarafin, Rector of the University, dear Dean Usman Siswanto, teachers and students, let me welcome you to the first joint event held by UNTIDAR University and Belarusian State Agriculture Academy as part of a cooperation agreement signed between our educational institutions in the year 2022. The lecture, which will be delivered by the teachers of universities, will create the basis for further faceted cooperation in the field of student education and research. Our universities have a lot of specialists for the agro-industrial sector. Agriculture will always be a priority as the production of agricultural materials continues in ever-increasing demand around the world. Progress in agricultural production requires close attention to issues such as soil degradation and climate change. It is not surprising that today's lecture will be in one way or another related to the topic of sustainable development of agriculture. The education of our university, I hope, will contribute to the training of specialists for the agricultural sector and thus to solving the problem of sustainable development of agriculture and providing people in sufficient food. Success participants of today's meeting, teachers, and students. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kolmakov Andrei Vasilievich, for your kind remarks. Let's continue our event with the remarks from His Excellency Mr. José Tavares, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia, Federation, and the Republic of Belarus. Ambassador José Tavares, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Anna, for this opportunity. Professor Kolnikov Andrei Vasilievich, first Vice Rector of the Belarusian State Agriculture Academy. Professor Dr. Mu Arifin, Rector of UNTIDAR University. Professor Tamara Nikolaevna Misliva, Doctor of Agricultural Sciences and the Head of the Department of Geodesy and Photogrammetry, Belarusian State Agriculture Academy. Bapak Insinyur Usman Siswanto, the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, UNTIDAR University, lecturers and faculty members, the student from Belarusian State Agriculture Academy and UNTIDAR University, distinguished participants, good morning from Moscow. I am grateful to have this opportunity on the occasion of the first activity in implementing the Memorandum of Understanding between Belarusian State Agriculture Academy and UNTIDAR University that has been signed on 14 January 2022. This event is part of the plan of action that has been defined by both universities to implement the MOU. I would like to extend my appreciation to both universities in organizing this event. The theme Sustainable Agriculture in Indonesia and Belarus is very pertinent for our world today. Some of the pressing issues concerning agricultural sustainability, for example, the environmental impact of current agricultural practices, the soil loss along with soil fertility, increasing water demand for agriculture, environmental pollution caused by the intensive use of agrochemicals, and many others. We are delighted to have two speakers today, Professor Tamara Nikolaevna, Ms. Liva, and Bapak Insinyur Usman Siswanto, who will present their insights on how to address these issues and come up with options that are less damaging to our environment. We have our students who will absorb the lessons for the benefit of future studies and researches. We need to expand our higher education system to cater with the learning needs of our peoples and providing answers to the problems of today. The importance of internationalization of higher education is needed as part of transformation process of the institutions. In the era of knowledge-based economy, this cooperation is even more relevant than ever to enhance the capacity of our experts. I hope that the activities in the plan of action would be continuously delivered to boost institutional and individual capacity that will in turn have positive impact on our society as a whole. I hope that we will have a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Jose Tavares, for your opening remarks. Distinguished participants, we already had our opening for today's event. We would like to thank to the Indonesian ambassador, the ambassador of Belarusia for Indonesia, and then the rector of UNTIDAR University, the vice rector of Belarusian State Agriculture Academy for their remarks. Now we are moving to the general lecture. We have two speakers here, and I'm delighted to welcome and also invite our first speaker, Mr. Insinyur Usman Siswanto, Master of Science, Philosophical Doctor, the Dean of Faculty of Agriculture, UNTIDAR University. Mr. Usman Siswanto will share his presentation on the topic entitled Mitigations of Climate Shift to Sustain Agricultural Yield. Mr. Insinyur Usman Siswanto, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Chairperson. His Excellency Bapak Jose Tavares, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the Russian Federation and the Republic of Belarus. Professor Kolmikov Andrei Vasilyevich, first Vice Rector of the Belarusian State Agriculture Academy. Bapak Profesor Dr. Moharifin, Rector of UNTIDAR University. Profesor Tamara Nikolaevna, Ms. Liva, Professor Doctor of Agricultural Science, and the head of the Department of Geodesy and Photogrammetry at Belarusian State Agriculture Academy. Mr. and Mrs. Excellency, dear participant, distinguished guests, and invited speaker, ladies and gentlemen, also distinguished students, both from Belarusia and University of UNTIDAR. Good morning to the student at Belarus, and good afternoon for the student here in University of UNTIDAR. This is great opportunity for me to have this precious to give the general lecture. I believe that if we are discussing about the sustainable agriculture, it is not new. Just like when we discuss about Industrial Revolution 4.0. This topic has been discussed more or less 10 years back. What the point here is, we need to realize, I mean, it's not just to discuss, but we have to do something to act. Ladies and gentlemen, I select my topic of the mitigation of climate safe to sustain agriculture here. The population is supposed to grow from 7.7 billion nowadays to about 9 billion in 2050. And food requirements are expected to escalate by about 85%. Unavoidable result is demand for water, food, energy, and the threat surrounding climate change will present a host of supply challenges. Agriculture is the cornerstone of human society, providing not only food and nourishment, but also employment for millions of people all over the world. If you look at this slide, we can recognize that the global population in 2050 is going to be around 9 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, this will require global food production to increase by at least 60% to accommodate this growing population. Data is already coming to light to provide strong evidence for the impact of climate change on food availability. In addition, conflict resulting in physical war among the countries is another potential cause for the limitation to access food, especially for poor states. We noticed, at least in the last 3 weeks, conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Both of the country is the big producer for the wheat. We can imagine if this country still in the conflict with, we do not know when it's going to be over. For example, the National Geographic recently published figure that predict that by 2050, corn's crop yield will have reduced by 24%, rice by 11%, and wheat by 3%, all due to climate change. I got the picture around 2 days back from Yahoo News, stated that wheat prices soar on Ukraine fears. This is one of the indications that food supply is in great danger. Rice decreased 11%. Go ahead. Berikutnya, yeah. Thank you. And then maize or corn crop yield reduced by 24%. Wheat decreased by 3%. Crop yield of soybean, wheat, rice, and corn or maize that currently provide 2/3 of the food, the global population, present a major problem for future food security. This figure demonstrates the urgent need to address climate change in order to mitigate its detrimental impact on food security and ensure that future generations have access to sustainable agriculture process that guarantee enough food will be produced each year. Ladies and gentlemen, if we look at the picture dealing with the projected changes in crop yield caused by climate change, in the first column, we can notice that between 2010 to 2029, the yield is just increased in small number. On the contrary, the decrease is much bigger than that. And then if we look at the whole picture, day by day, year by year, yield is going to be decreasing. The other side, the deficit of yield of production is going to be going up. This is the picture how drought, flood, extreme temperature, storm will influence our life. Berikutnya, Mas. Next. Next. In the 21st century, the Earth's average temperature is expected to increase from 2 to 5.0 degrees Celsius. The most warming between the 19th and the 21st centuries. All living organisms, such as plant, animal, fish, and human, have been affected by the extreme environmental condition around the globe. The danger to the world climate condition has triggered anxiety among everyone because crop yield might be compromised by fluctuation in various environmental factors that can risk food security. Next. If you look at on the following slide, we can notice that cereal, sugar crop, vegetable, oil crops, fruit, root and tubers, also sugarcane, maize, rice, wheat, potatoes and soybean increase by the year. How about the production of crop meat and fish in Indonesia? If we make a comparison between the world production of primary crops in 2018, we can notice that Indonesia, we do not grow the wheat, meaning that Indonesia 100% imports the wheat. And in terms of the production of primary crops by groups, as a matter of fact, Indonesia has been growing cereal, sugar crop, vegetable, oil crops, fruits, roots, and tuber. Unfortunately, the production is still need to be increased. So far, Indonesia has still imported those kind of commodity from outside the country. The same thing for the meat production. Even though we grow the cattle, the chicken, and the pigs, but the production is still not enough to meet the need of the people in Indonesia. How about the fisheries and aquaculture production? Capture fisheries and aquaculture production in 2018, we can see that marine fish, freshwater fish, mollusk, crustacean, so the fluctuation of the production. The same thing with the capture fisheries and aquaculture production by mode. What I mean is the capture production is also increasing by the time. The same thing with aquaculture production. Ladies and gentlemen, agriculture, forestry, and other land uses together are responsible at least 1/3 of all global anthropogenic greenhouse gas emission, and maybe the world's greatest contributor to climate change. So how about the influence of climate shift on the cropland adaptation? With the increase of the Earth's temperature, the climate undergoes severe alteration and becoming abiotically stressful. Under field circumstances, drought and heat are the most predominant stresses and have a significant influence on the plant. As heat stress affect the grain production and yield, cold stress result in sterility. And drought stress negatively influences the morphophysiology of the plant. So that's why if the temperature keep increasing, we can expect that the production will decrease. Global warming and climate change both have some negative and positive effect on agricultural crop as well as on the human. Berikutnya, Mas. Next. If you look at the picture, we can know that the climate change and global warming influence both sides, either positive effect or negative effect. But negative effect side is more dominant than the positive effect. What's the message of this? It means that we have to pay more attention to the effect of climate change and global warming to negative effect. Ladies and gentlemen, the cascading effect of climate change impact on food security and nutrition. A range of physical, biological, and biophysical impact bear on ecosystem and agroecosystem, translating into impact on agriculture production. If we pay attention to the picture, this has quantity, quality, and price effect with impact on the income of farm household and on purchasing power of non-farm household. All four dimensions of food security and nutrition are impacted by this effect. What I mean is climate change will influence land degradation, atmospheric composition, agroecosystem, agricultural product and post-harvest, and also agricultural livelihood and other livelihood. At the end, climate change will affect food security and nutrition from the availability, access, and utilization, as well as stability standpoint. So, how do we mitigate crop development constraint by climate change adjustment? It is required to grow stress-tolerant plant and understand the responses under different stress conditions. In relation to various climatic stresses, the response of plant varies and the expression of gene, physiology, and metabolism. Due to different stresses, the organ and tissue of the plant are damaged and they respond accordingly. For example, transcriptional responses against various stresses are different in specific cell of tissue of the root. So we have a couple of choices how to mitigate the climate change on the production of the plant. We may use altering planting and harvesting time, a collection of crop with short life cycle, crop rotation, irrigation technique, variation in cropping scheme, modification in sowing time, application of drought-resistant cultivar, and the cultivation of new crops. We also might use the different approach by conventional technique. We may use plant breeding, and also we may use the relatively modern technology in agriculture. What we call it genetic and genomic strategies. Just like omics-led breeding and marker-assisted selection. Genome weight association studies for stress tolerant, genome selection for crop improvement, genetic engineer plant for stress tolerant, and also genome editing strategies. This is more or less, excuse me, how do we can adjust with the climate change to keep producing the crop. This is the crop, and then the next, this is for climate change adaptation option in the livestock sector, and the next is overview of practical option for reducing vulnerability in fisheries and aquaculture. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, new and emerging of climate change and land degradation are leading to paradigm shift from input intensive to knowledge intensive agriculture. There is a need to reorient the institutional capacities of extension system to better align with the change in research focus toward sustainability practices. It is also necessary for extension system to move beyond a narrow community focus on advisory services and adopt a broader focus on diversified farming system, sustainable value chains, and industries. Ladies and gentlemen, this is required to promote the adoption of sustainable production system and practices, including integrated crop, livestock, and aquaculture crop system, conservation agriculture, agroforestry, nutrition sensitive agriculture, sustainable forest management, and sustainable fisheries management. This and other form a climate smart agriculture, will help farms, ecosystem, and communities to adapt to, mitigate, and build resilience to climate change and address the country. In this great opportunity, I need to add some activities related to research carried out at the Agriculture Faculty of UNTIDAR to support food availability. I put the statement of Dr. E.O. Wilson, noted entomologist and sociobiologist of Harvard University. He said, the worst thing that can happen is not energy depletion, economic collapse, limited nuclear war, or conquest by a totalitarian government. The one ongoing in the 1980s that will take millions of years to correct is the loss of genetic and species diversity by the destruction of natural habitat. So that's why Faculty of Agriculture, University of UNTIDAR, maintain the legacy of our ancestors, crafted in the Borobudur, and strive to conserve and develop them. Breadfruit, cassava, taro, necklace duck, local sheep, biong fish, just to name some of available local biodiversity found in Magelang. That is the University of UNTIDAR located. So this is exploration and the development of indigenous biodiversity that we find in the surrounding Magelang. We have secang necklace duck and Wonosobo sheep. If we look at the duck in the middle picture, we can notice the color of white in the neck of the duck. This is endemic species of duck that we find in Magelang. Also, this is, we call it domba Magelang, or domba Wonosobo. We can find this species more or less 100 kilometers west side of University of UNTIDAR. And then we also have some endemic finfish species of Kaliprogo River. We have Puntius binotatus, Nemacillus fasciatus, and Cana striata. And also what we call it ikan beong. This is the left side. Now it's very popular. And then it's becoming the specific culinary from Magelang. And also ikan sili or Macrocnatus aculeatus. And how about the local plant species crafted at Borobudur Temple? This is illustration or relief that we can find in the Borobudur Temple. We have a breadfruit. Yeah, this is very good for and very nutritious for the baby. And then we have cassava. We are growing at the Bandungan Research Station. And then we have sweet potato. And this is one of the example. Berikutnya, next. The research conducted by students showing us that we are, no, it's not yet. Okay. We are also focusing on the natural plant growth promoting rhizobacteria. Next. This is a little bit information that University of Tidar facilitated by Kledung Research Park. And this is the facilities to conduct the research and laboratory practical field for the student. This is pond to grow fish, and this is the micro propagation of potato. Berikutnya, yeah, this is micro propagation of potato. This is, we can find it in Kledung station. And we have also next Bandungan Teaching Farm. Yeah. In this place, this is next. This is the ongoing construction of closed house. I believe in a couple of, no, it's not yet. In a couple of weeks, it will be over, and we can use it to grow for the 22,000-day-old chick. Next. This is the plantation of sweet potato and cassava. This is a close picture what the cassava and sweet potato is growing very well. And agricultural faculty of University of Tidar expect that we can establish the research project. So maybe we can set or establish the international collaboration for agricultural, food security, and student learning research at the Faculty of Agriculture. And in conclusion, climate change has devastating effect on plant growth and yield. Focus on optimizing plant growth and development in abiotic stress is mandatory. Propagating novel cultural method, implementing various cropping schemes, and different conventional and non-conventional approaches need to be adopted. Thank you very much. Again, this is precious opportunity for me. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Swanto, Master of Sciences, of a doctor representation. Now we would like to ask the participants, Belarusian State Agriculture Academy, if you have questions, mention your name and faculty before your questions.
Hello. My name is Shah, a student of our, and we are opportunity to have a if you can't have relationship, you can give us this. So, okay.
Would you please repeat the question again, because your voice is not really clear here. Thank you very much.
My name is Sasha.
Excuse me. Before you are asking questions, would you please mention your name and also where are you from? Thank you.
My name is Sasha. I'm a student of Belarusian State Agriculture Academy. And my question is next. Have an opportunity to have practical training versus country haven't in this sphere, maybe give us that's.
Sorry, your voice is lagging. Would you please repeat it again?
Sorry, the academy. If possible, students from BA to have practice periods at your university, at your training farm. So this is the
Thank you very much for this question. As I mentioned before, that the effort of the University of UNTIDAR to support the sustainable of agriculture, we try to explore the local wisdom that has been practiced by a lot of people, a lot of farmers in surrounding Magelang especially, and also Indonesia. Just like how we combine or we use different kind of plant in one time. This has the purpose to control the climate change. I mean that we can plant like a peanut or as a source of nitrogen combined with some other plant or some other crop plant. And the other things is, I mentioned before also that we encourage the student to go back for the basic research. That is focusing to conserve the nature. Yeah, thank you very much.
My name is Victoria. My name is Victoria. I'm a student of the Faculty of Economy. Do fertilizers necessary for soils in Indonesia.
Excuse me. Can you mention your name again? Your name, please.
My name?
Aina. Okay. Yes, Aina. And your question?
Do farmers use of fertilizers and soils in Indonesia?
Sorry, students don't hear anything. I will the question. The question is, farmers in Indonesia use a lot of fertilizers, and what kind of fertilizers usually for soils in your country?
Yeah, we try to practice the low extension input sustainable agriculture. We do realize that we cannot avoid using inorganic fertilizer, but we have been trying to limit the use of it because in Indonesia we have plenty of natural resources. Let's say after we harvest rice, usually we have waste material, and then in order to reuse the material, we do not throw away the what we call it waste material, and then we return it back into the soil. We hope that after some time, this material, it will be decomposed by some microorganism, and then after 3 and 4 months, we can reuse again and reuse to fertilize the cropland that we grow here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Now I would like to invite our second speaker, Professor Tamara Myslova, Doctor of Cultural Sciences, the Department of Geodesy and Photogrammetry at the Belarusian State Agriculture Academy. Professor Tamara Myslova, the screen is yours.
What about the farm?
Скажите, пожалуйста, нас слышно?
Do you hear us?
Да, вас слышно. Вот немного прерывается звук из-за того, что, наверное, микрофон беспроводной. Если возможно, наверное, 2 микрофона поставить для лектора. Спасибо большое.
Can you hear me? Еще раз, нас слышно?
Звук прерывается. Можно, наверное, подключить через телефон, чтобы звук был лучше. То есть подключить телефон, а звук входить через телефон. Звук просто прерывается вот каждую секунду из-за микрофона. Наверное, можно вот подключить телефон, а потом этот телефон просто оттуда говорить, если возможно. Спасибо большое.
Может, я буду так?
Попробуйте еще раз, пожалуйста.
Сейчас хорошо?
Сейчас, да, хорошо. Давай.
Хорошо, все отлично. Значит, меняем место, и все отлично. Спасибо. Оттуда, наверное, что дверь открыта. Выходит куда-то.
Так, запускай. Презентации нет. Сейчас. Ага. Аж видно отсюда.
Знаю, он прекрасно знает.
Это русский хорошо. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
So I can start, yes?
Yes.
So, good morning. And colleague from Belarus. Good afternoon, students and colleague from Indonesia. First of all, let me thank the organizers of the webinar for taking it. In my presentation, I'll give a brief description of the Republic of Belarus because it's unfamiliar country, you as I understood, and about its economy and agricultural sector. My presentation is divided into 4 parts, which is dedicated to a different topic. Beginning, I'll briefly introduce you to the country present and also give a general description of its location, population, land resources, and natural conditions. Next one. So Belarus is a landlocked country in East Europe, but due to location is an important transport between Europe and CIS countries. The area of Belarus is much more. Indonesia consists only 207,000 square kilometers, and it's 81st largest country in the world and city in Europe. The Republic of Lithuania, Poland, Latvia, Russia, and Ukraine. Here you can also see some key facts about Belarus. The population of Belarus is more than 9 million inhabitants, and this is only 1.1% of the population and about 1.3% of the European population. The density of population in Belarus reaches 40% per kilometer. By value of gender inequality index, Belarus in a very high 31st position among 162 countries in the world. Next. Belarus has a temperate continental climate with moderate features, which is characteristic for Central Europe. Hot summers, long cold winters, and distinct seasons. We have 4 distinct seasons in the year. The annual temperature is about this. The summer lasts about 150 days in and is most of the sunny and dry. And the annual rainfall is about 100 meters. Belarus is heterogeneous. One finds the following main types of soils in the country. Reddy soils about 25%, Luvis soils 19%, Histo soils 9%, Fluvial soils 9%, clay soils and stagnant soils 9%, well as some podzols and leptos. These are clear predominant hydromorphic soils, our automorphic soils, and the fertility of the soil mostly moderate. The generally favorable ecological potential is principally soil degradation processes, acidification, and unfavorable changes in biochemical cycle of nutrients. Please. Belarus from north to south is 560 kilometers, from west to east 650 kilometers. About 10% of the country's territory is covered with forests. There are small rivers and more than 11,000 lakes in Belarus. Therefore, it's figuratively called Blue Earth country. Agricultural land, the map of Belarus occupies 41% of the total area and are subject to private ownership and can only be owned by the state. At this slide, you can also find some additional information about the distribution of agricultural land categories and about the availability and distribution of lands which are property of citizens. Next, please. Now you show the video that better than any will describe the beauty of the nature of Belarus, the country of lakes and forests. Очень далеко. At the end of this part of the presentation, I would like to say a few words about the unofficial symbols of Belarus. One of them is the European bison, which is a large native herbivore in Europe. And another widely known symbol is white stork, the national bird of Belarus, and a symbol of goodness and wise strength. Next, please. In the second part of the presentation, I would like to give an overview of the economy of Belarus and very briefly talk about the development of its ICT industry, because I'm a specialist and I can't avoid this topic in my presentation. No. The Republic of Belarus is an export-oriented country with a developed industry, service sector, and agriculture. Services are the biggest sector of the economy and account for 47% of total GDP, while agriculture adds up 6%. The gross domestic in Belarus was worth more than $6.3 billion in 2020. Here you also find additional information. Belarus ranked 8th on the Sustainable Development Goals according to the Sustainable Development Report 2020, and GDP per capita in Belarus is expected to reach $6,009 USD by the end of 2020. Next, please. Export is one of the priorities of the Belarusian economy. More than 60% of manufactured goods are exported, which is common for countries with highly developed and open economies. In particular, in 2021, Belarus supplied 160 million worth of potash fertilizers to Indonesia, and total turnover of agricultural products to 11.9 million USD. Next, please. The most famous brands in Belarus include Indian giants, class chemical companies, innovative IT companies, clothing and food manufacturers, and high-quality food manufacturers. Here you can see some very famous, world-known Belarusian brands. Maybe you are familiar with them, maybe not, but after the lecture you will not think about our proud of our national economy. Belarus ranks 49 on the ease of doing business. According to the World Bank Doing Business 2020 report, high-tech established in Belarus in 2005 is rightfully the leading IT cluster in Central and Eastern Europe. IP residents can engage in 7 types of activities. 5 of the world's 10 largest corporations, according to Forbes, customers of the high-tech market. Currently, Belarus is 31st in the global ranking and communication technologies. The number of fixed broadband internet subscribers in the country is more than 3 million, and 41.5% of the population has access to it. Please. This sphere is the main driver of economic growth and is of strategic importance for the economy. Due to the special tax regime, the Belarusian ICT sector works much more efficiently than other sectors of the economy. Next, please. It's noteworthy that a distinctive feature of the ICT industry in Belarus is the emphasis on export. This regard is steady growth in export services, of the export of ICT services has grown 13% over the past 7 years. Next, please. And now let's look at the part of the presentation, which is dedicated to the development of crop production in the Republic of Belarus. in the agricultural crop grown in Belarus, the main share falls on cereals and legumes. The country has developed animal husbandry. 42% of the sown area is occupied by fodder crops. In 2020, over 7.4 thousand tons of grain, over 4.8 thousand tons of potato, and over 3.8 thousand tons of sugar beet were produced in Belarus. Next, please. The cultivation of cereals is a strategic sector of agriculture in Belarus. Cereals and legumes occupy 23% of the structure of the sown country. And the Belarusian of cereals currently occupy more than 75% of the occupied by crops. The volume of state orders for cereals is more than 800,000 annually. Next, please. Varieties of winter soft wheat and 26 varieties of spring soft wheat, as well as 7 varieties of durum wheat, are included in the state register of the Republic of Belarus. However, there are 3 durum wheat varieties variety test. The BSAA created 2 varieties of durum wheat, Rosalia and Slavia, which zoned and introduced into production in 2015 in Belarus. It should be noted that durum wheat is a culture for Belarus that promises an important role not only in import substitution, but also in increasing export supplies. For a long time, that durum wheat doesn't grow in Belarus to a lack of sun and heat. However, due to the sharp warming of the climate, this problem has faded in the background. Today, the main key for the success of durum wheat is the proper selection of soil, which must be rich in nutrients. Therefore, this culture should be considered also like promising for precision farming. The bulk of the country's potatoes are grown in the private sector. However, the minimum yield of this crop is obtained in agricultural enterprises. On average, over the past 5 years, potatoes occupied 0.5 to 0.9% in the sector of sown areas, agricultural enterprises, 12 to 15% in the structure of sown areas of farms, and 56% the structure of sown areas of private households. In 2022, about 7 million tons of potato are to be harvested, with the bulk of them, 5 tons, going to be produced by farmers and private household plots. Please. 100 varieties of potato are zoned in Belarus today. 125 varieties are nematode, 9 varieties are technical, and 3 varieties are universal. All the rest are table varieties. It's not noteworthy to underline that Belarus is a country with the biggest potato consuming and producing country per capita, and very often Belarusians themselves as also potato people because of it. It's a funny nickname for Belarusians. Sugar production is one of the industries of Belarus. Sugar beet is cultivated by our 4 agricultural companies in 4 regions of the country. In 2021, 4 million tons of sugar beet were harvested, and the 5 tons per hectare with the sugar content and 16%. Due to climatic conditions, remain the main oil crop which in Belarus. The country has zoned 23 varieties and 17 hybrids of winter as 22 varieties and 27 hybrids of spring rape. These varieties don't contain lactic acid and have a low glucosamylase level. It should be noted that over the past 15 years, the soil area of in the country increased by 8.5 times. Wind is a traditional industry for Belarus. However, due to the high complexity of cultivation and the reduction of labor resources in rural areas, there is a decline in flax production. Over the past 15 years, soil area has decreased by 4 times. In total, 66 varieties of flax and 9 varieties of are zoned in the country. And in 2021, over 45% of groups of long flax occupied by the plant variety. Russian exporters of flax have the lowest for both fiber and fabric, only 10.5 per kilo USD per kilo. So 2018, flax fiber has been exported from the Republic of Belarus outside the customs territory of the Eurasian Economic Union under one-time licenses. This is due to the need to provide raw materials for our own processing facilities and light industry enterprises. Soybeans is an promising but insufficient and less common culture for the condition of the soybeans being varieties of Belarusian breed are zoned in the country. The crop within Belarus is small because very often simply because of the unwillingness of agricultural producers to adhere to this technology. At the same time, in about 140,000 tons of soybean meal annually the livestock industry. Crop for grain is from 2 to 3% the strike of sown in Belarus 492 corn of different mature with 246 grain hybrids. It's common hybrids and its product from 4 to 0.5 tons per. Part of the presentation will be key to the development of animal breeding in the of Belarus. I'll briefly describe the development of main branches of animal breeding and fish breeding. Belarus has an animal husbandry, which makes it possible to meet the country's needs for livestock products to export products of its processing. Every year, the country produces over 370 eggs, about 800 kilos of milk, and more than 170 of meat and poultry per capita. Here you can see the information, the dynamic. The dairy cattle breeding is represented by the Belarusian black motley cattle breed, which has a high genetic productivity potential. Cattle of this breed is practically the only source of milk and beef in the country. The number of cows in breeding farms, total 65,000 heads, including a yield of 9,000 3.5. The system of pedigree work in cattle breeding in the Republic provides for the bulk beef to be obtained by combined cattle. Beef occupies 8% of enterprises. Our 1,200,000 tons of meat in slaughter weight are produced annually in the country. Please. Belarus is a master country, so the 2.8 million heads of pigs in farms, including 2.5 million in agricultural organizations. We also have 108 for the production of marketable pork, 12 breeding stock engaged in breeding pigs. The most popular breeds are large white, Belarusian meat, and race, York, and Yorkshire. Next, please. Production is a science-intensive, dynamically developing in the complex Belarus. The poultry farms in the country are egg and meat and breeding. Poultry meat occupies 42% of meat production, and its annual production volume is more than 500,000 tons. As I said, Belarus is a landlocked country, but agriculture in Belarus is characterized by 4 main farming systems: fish pond farming, industrial fish farming, rearing fish in warm water plants in closed loop water supply systems, and fish rearing in natural and artificial water bodies, culture fisheries. The main cultured species in Belarus is currently accounts for 79.7% of total national aquaculture production, and fish pond farming is the main mode of production. Here you can also see the most popular breeding in artificial aquaculture in Belarus. It is common, very tasty. Fish and fish products traditionally occupy third place after products of animal husbandry and poultry farming. They are an important factor in supplying the population with animal protein. The total pond surface of the country is more than 24,500 hectares, and their existing pond capacities allow an annual production of up to 9,500 tons of marketable fish. Here you can see the current information about national catch of fish in Belarus. In conclusion, I would like to say that we are open for scientific cooperation and collaboration. We invite you to visit Belarus and our academy. I also want to thank you for your patience and attention, and we'll be happy to answer any question you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tamara Nikolevna Misliva, for your presentation. Now, we would like to ask from the participants, especially students from UNTIDAR University, to ask questions. Before you asking questions, would you please mention your name and then also your faculty, and then followed by your questions. Thank you. Here is the first question.
Okay, first I want to ensure that my voice is audible. Yes. Okay.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, first I want to introduce myself. My name is Aswin Hendry, and I am from UNTIDAR University, especially from the Department of Agriculture. Okay, and then my question. First, I want to tell all of you about the fact of the climate change. Sure, it will impact our food supply, and not only in the plant crop, but in the livestock and fisheries. And then my question is, with its good mapping system or the good information system, is it possible to us make it one of consideration, I mean, to prevent this natural disease, I mean, climate change. That's a question for me. Thank you.
That is the question from Aswin Hendry.
Can I answer the question?
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you. So, for sure, Belarus has quite different climatic and Indonesia. We also feel the impact of global warming, but now at state of our agriculture development, maybe we will have even more global warming, especially because we always have warm and heat, and now it will allow us to grow corn, for instance, without any restriction. Negative impact of changes and global warming is connected with the lack of water. Sometimes during summer period we can have quite hot weather. Average temperature can be 32 or 35 degrees. And in this period we don't have rainfall. All the crops are suffer. However, this period is always dedicated to the critical period for the growth and development for our main agricultural crops such as corn, spring wheat, and so on. We also try to improve. We also try to use some technologies which will help us to save resources, such as precision farming technologies. And I said about it in my presentation when I described durum triticum, because it's not Belarus does grow wheat. Wheat can be used making flour only for further purposes, but the works allowed it us to do it.
You? And is there any more additional answers?
Maybe somebody has another question?
Well, the second question, please.
No one?
Yes, there is the question.
Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
My name is Mikael Sihide. You can call me Mick. And the first, I would like to send my gratitude to Professor Dr. Insinyur Muharribin MSc and the Professor Komikov Andrei Vasilyevich, and to Mr. Insinyur Usman Siswanto, MSc PhD, and Professor Tamara Nikolaevna Misliva. Please pardon me if I pronounce it not correct. I actually from animal science department, so I would like to ask about animal science.
Okay.
Okay. We all know that we are concerning about global warming, especially from animals, animal farming and agriculture. So I'd like to know maybe if there are any other latest or highest technology maybe that already introduced in Belarus that can reduce the effect, the bad effect of animals farming and agriculture, that maybe we can share and we can apply it in our country, in Indonesia. Maybe since I noticed some animals and plants quite similar to ours here. I don't know, but I find it like even the fish maybe, it's like it looks similar to ours. So maybe the other technology maybe that been introduced in Belarus can be applied in our country in concern of reducing the effects of animal farming and agriculture on global warming. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. I see that Belarus has quite different conditions, and the global warming impact is different in Indonesia and Belarus. We feel we have some bad consequences, but they're connected with suffering our animals because of heat. For instance, like you have it in Indonesia, the dry season during the summer leads to destroying our pastures, and our animals always feel the lack of fresh grass, sandy soils because of loss of water, and because dry grass in summer period. This is the problem for us, but we also can find some points for collaboration because, as you mentioned, we have the similar fish species. So you should connect with our specialists from our animal breeding department. I think that we will find a lot of topics for mutual collaboration in scientific areas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Professor Tamara Nikolevna Misliva.
Can I ask one question?
Oh, one more question, Professor Misliva.
I actually a lecturer, new lecturer in animal science department. So in my opinion, in case in this collaboration, maybe our student, even our colleague is a lecturer as well, maybe are imagining something like in the future, maybe student exchange or lecturer exchange, as I already mentioned before. So I'd like to know if maybe how can we make it happen one day? If maybe there are already way for us to apply, or we can find a way to make it true. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. We are always open for collaboration and cooperation. We invite you, our university, to set some specific points toward these activities. You can connect with our international department, and it's no problem to set it. We are waiting for invitation, and it's not a problem to provide or even teacher exchange. Our vice rector supports this idea. Yes, Andrei Vasilyev. Yes. So we are waiting for your position, and you're welcome. And we are waiting to the.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Tamara Nikolevna Misliva. it seems that Belarus and Indonesia have lots of things in common. So that is why we are sisters, right? And then it would be nice if both will have collaboration. And then thank you very much, Professor Tamara Nikolevna Misliva, for the comments and also answers. Distinguished participants, we have reached the end of our event. Before we close this webinar, we would like to invite our speakers to deliver the closing remarks. In the first chance, I would like to invite Mr. Usman Siswanto to deliver his closing remarks. Mr. Usman Siswanto, the screen is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Chairman. Again, I would like to stress my point. Climate change, it is very serious for us. And we have to realize if we are, as a human being, still want to stay in our Mother Earth, we have to minimize deforestation. We have to control temperature increase. And I think if we only keep accelerating the economic growth, I believe that the destruction of the nature is going to be faster. So in this great opportunity, I would like to stress again that we have to realize that this climate change is very serious to take care. In this opportunity, I'll be very glad that even though we have the opportunity to meet virtually, but I believe sometime we will meet physically. And I hope this will the time for both of us. Belarusian State Agriculture Academy and the University of UNTIDAR may establish constructive collaboration. I think we have two different big aspects. We are here in the tropical area, and we just have two different major climate. That is rainy season and dry season. And I believe in Belarus, you have 4 different seasons. Maybe you have winter, you have summer, and then you have fall, and you have spring. If we can combine, maybe this is one of the effort that we can be able to save our motherhood that we live in. Thank you very much. And I hope this general lecture may be followed by the other productive activities like research collaboration, and maybe training, and maybe exchange lecture and some other thing. Again, thank you very much for this opportunity. Terima kasih.
Much, Mr. Swanto. Now I would like to invite Professor Tamara Nikolaevna Myslova to give her remarks.
Dear participants of the event, once again, to sincerely thank the representatives of the Indonesian side for the excellent organization of the webinar and for their opportunity to take part in it, as well as colleagues and students of UNTIDAR, Belarusian State Agriculture Academy for active participation. A pleasure with all of you today, and thank you very much for your interest and attention to this event. I sincerely hope that this is not the last joint event, that we establish successful and fruitful cooperation between our universities. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Professor Tamara Nikolaevna Myslova, for the remarks. Distinguished participants, we have gone through all the agenda for today's webinar. I would like to thank all participants for your participation and also contribution to this event.
It's been a pleasure being with all of you today. We would like to thank you for your time and attention. And hopefully we could see you on the other end. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all participants. And also thank you very much for BSAA, Belarusian State Agricultural Academy.
Goodbye.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our webinar. Yeah, thank you.
Participants, don't forget to confirm your attendance using the link on the chat box in order that you can get certificate for this program. Bapak Ibu dosen serta para mahasiswa jangan lupa untuk mengisi link, ya, mengisi form, ada link yang tertera di chat box untuk sertifikat. Pak Zinski, Pak Ervino, Pak Adi, terima kasih. Semua teman-teman yang ada di KBRI Moskow, terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak Ibu. Saya mewakili Pak Duta Besar. Tadi mohon izin meninggal ke tempat karena ada kegiatan lain. Terima kasih atas acara hari ini. Sekali lagi atas nama KBRI Moskow mengucapkan selamat atas kerjasama BSAA dan Universitas UNTIDAR. Semoga kegiatan awal ini menjadi pembuka bagi kegiatan lain yang lebih menarik lagi dan lebih bermanfaat, produktif lagi di masa mendatang. Saya Nanang Fadilah, Ibu, Koordinator Fungsi Penerangan dan Sosial Budaya KBRI Moskow. Dari tadi monitor, cuma tadi videonya dimatikan ya sebentar, tapi tetap monitor. Terima kasih Ibu Dwi dan Bapak Rektor, Bapak Ibu sekalian dari pihak BSAA juga. Спасибо вам огромное за сегодняшнее мероприятие. И будем надеяться, что это первый шаг после подписания договора между обеих вуз. Будем еще продолжаться с другими деятельностями. Спасибо огромное. Дякую дуже.
Sampai ketemu pada acara program kerjasama berikutnya. See you.
Siap, Ibu.
The
Ya,
next.
terima kasih. See you when I see you. Bye-bye.
The next program will be culture and language.
Oh, it will be interesting, ya.
Ibu Dwi. Congratulations Ibu Dwi. Bapak Ibu.
Terima kasih banyak Bu Dwi.